The story of the Mpondo Coalition highlights one of the most extraordinary alliances of male lions in Africa, known for their ability to dominate vast territories and surpass other notable coalitions, such as the famous MPONDOS coalition. Unlike most coalitions, where lions usually belong to the same family lineage, the Mpondo were formed by 5 lions from different backgrounds, with only 2 of them being blood brothers. This uniqueness already drew attention, as coalitions formed by unrelated lions are rare in the African wilderness. The 5 lions of the Mpondo coalition joined forces at the beginning of their adolescence, while their manes were still growing. Coming from different areas and prides, they met in the Majane Reserve, which is near Kruger National Park, one of the largest wildlife sanctuaries in Africa. Kruger is a vast region, with hundreds of square kilometers of savannas and mountains, home to a great diversity of animal life, including lions. The formation of the Mpondo coalition marked the beginning of a successful trajectory that would change the balance of power among the lions in the region. Soon after uniting, the Mpondo began expanding their territories and challenging dominant lions. At first, the 5 lions were inexperienced, struggling to hunt large prey and opting to capture smaller animals to survive. However, over time, as they gained experience, these lions became skilled hunters and developed a strong aptitude for combat. Unlike typical male lion behavior, where hunting is usually left to the lionesses, the Mpondo showed an interest in participating in hunts, proving themselves to be excellent hunters. This distinctive behavior helped them strengthen their physical abilities and consolidate their position as a dominant force in the region. They expanded rapidly, taking control of several prides and fighting against other coalitions that inhabited nearby areas. One of the most impressive aspects of the Mpondo coalition was their invincibility. Until 2020, none of the lions had lost their lives, even during confrontations with other coalitions or solitary lions who attempted to challenge them. The group remained cohesive, and even when the oldest lion began showing signs of weakness, the other members of the coalition continued to support and feed him, allowing for his recovery. This solidarity within the coalition contributed to their reputation as one of the most successful alliances in the history of African lions. Over the years, the Mpondo conquered a vast area, controlling 6 prides in the northwest of Kruger Park. They demonstrated a unique ability to equally divide responsibilities, both in terms of territorial defense and sharing females and hunts. This level of cooperation is rare among male lions, making the case of the Mpondo a phenomenon widely studied by biologists and local guides. This coalition stood out for how they balanced power and equality among their members, contrasting with the dynamics of other coalitions, where competition among males is common. The rise of the Mpondo coalition to absolute dominance did not occur without intense challenges. After forming in 2014, with its members still in adolescence, the 5 male lions quickly began expanding their area of influence. They started with the area around the Majane Reserve, but before long, their ambition led them to Kruger National Park. As they entered the vast plains of the park, the Mpondos soon encountered other groups of lions that already dominated the territory, some belonging to older and more experienced coalitions. That's when the true battles for survival began. At first, the group was still consolidating, developing their hunting and combat skills. Without lionesses to hunt for them, the 5 young males had to learn to catch their own prey. This task was risky, as hunting large prey, such as buffalo or zebra, required coordination and strength that they had not yet fully developed. In one of their first hunts of an adult buffalo, they almost lost one of their younger members, an experience that taught them to be more strategic and cautious. Despite these difficulties, the Mpondo coalition soon showed relentless determination. They began to specialize in smaller hunts, refining their techniques until they became efficient predators. It didn't take long for them, by 2015, to be ready to face more formidable rivals. By this time, the oldest member of the group had become the natural leader, guiding the others with his experience and instinct. The most intense battles took place against other lion groups that already controlled prides within Kruger Park. One of the main coalitions the Mpondo had to face was the Crocodile Bridge, a group of 3 male lions that had dominated part of the territory the Mpondo wanted to conquer for years. These fights were brutal, and the combat between lion coalitions is known for its ferocity. When 2 coalitions face off, The goal is not only to defeat the opponent, but also to completely destroy them, ensuring that the conquered area remains free from any future retaliation. In one of these confrontations, two of the Mpondo were severely injured. However, what set this coalition apart from others was the incredible solidarity among its members. While many coalitions have a rigid hierarchy, with the strongest males occupying positions of power, the Mpondo seemed to operate with more shared leadership. The two injured lions were protected and cared for by the others, something uncommon among rival coalitions. This unity and the fact that each member supported each other during the most challenging times made the Mpondo stand out as a formidable group. In addition to the physical battles, the Mpondo also had to deal with the constant pressure of maintaining their territories against lone invaders. Solitary male lions are often even more dangerous than coalitions because these individuals are generally more desperate and willing to take greater risks to conquer territories and females. Some of these males tried to invade Mpondo territory, especially when they noticed that 2 of the 5 members were injured. However, even in these instances, the Mpondo proved to be invincible. Every attempt at invasion was met with a swift and violent response, and the solitary males, lacking the support of others, were quickly expelled or killed. As time went on, the Mpondo's territory grew exponentially. The culmination of their expansion occurred in 2017, when they had already taken over 6 prides within Kruger Park. With this level of control, they not only had access to vast areas for hunting, but also to numerous females with whom they could reproduce. The Mpondo coalition began to leave their genetic mark on the park, with cubs being born in nearly every pride they had conquered. This was one of the highlights of their dominance, and recognition of their power echoed throughout the region. However, 2017 also marked the beginning of a new phase for the Mpondo. With the conquest of so many territories and the proliferation of their offspring, new responsibilities emerged. Unlike most lion coalitions, where usually one lion assumes the role of absolute leader and the other males follow him, the Mpondo maintained a more equal division of power. This strategy, which many biologists and local guides considered risky, ended up being one of the main factors in their success. Each member of the coalition had their turn to patrol the territories, protect the females, and ensure that their domains remained secure. They alternated between working in pairs and individually, with one lion going out alone on some occasions to ensure that every part of their vast territory was under surveillance. This strategic rotation allowed the lions to take turns in protecting the territory, ensuring that all were rested and ready to fight if necessary. This style of collective leadership defied traditional conventions of lion coalitions. Normally, when a coalition expands too much, there is an increase in internal competition, with one of the males attempting to dominate the others. However, the Mpondo never succumbed to this kind of internal division. Their cohesion as a group kept them strong, even in the face of external challenges. This characteristic made their behavior widely studied by biologists and local guides, who saw in them a remarkable exception to the rule among big cats. However, the balance of the coalition began to be threatened in 2020, when the oldest member, who had once been the natural leader of the group, began to show signs of aging and weakness. During a patrol, he was seen isolated from the rest of the group, leading some guides to believe that his life was coming to an end. In the wild, when a lion grows old and loses strength, he is often abandoned by his companions or, in extreme cases, even expelled from the group. However, what happened with the oldest Mpondo lion surprised everyone. Instead of leaving him behind, the other members of the coalition intensified their support for him. They began to feed the older lion more frequently, bringing him the prey they captured and ensuring that he was not vulnerable to attacks from other predators. This altruistic behavior was almost unprecedented in the lion world, where survival of the fittest is the rule. The older lion's recovery, albeit partial, was a testament to the strength of the bond that united the Mpondo. He no longer participated in territorial patrols as before, but whenever the other members were nearby, he joined them, remaining an integral part of the group. This supportive attitude ensured that the coalition remained intact, even as the years passed and its members aged. From 2020 onwards, this phase was marked by a new balance. The Mpondo lions continued to win their battles, maintain their territories, and expand their lineage, but they now faced a new challenge: the passage of time. Though they remained the undisputed kings of Northwest Kruger, signs of wear began to appear. Despite this, up until this point, none of the lions had been defeated, and the group remained united, something biologists and local guides considered a historic feat. As the years went by, the Mpondo coalition solidified its place in African wildlife history, not only for their territorial dominance but also for the longevity of their union and the unique behavior of its members. In 2020, when the oldest lion began to show signs of weakness, the coalition entered a critical phase of its existence, where the natural cycle of wildlife, which usually favors the young and strong, began to pressure the group. However, the way the Mpondo dealt with these challenges further defined their legacy. In most lion coalitions, when an older member loses his ability to fight or hunt, he is typically left aside or even expelled from the group. Lions are fiercely competitive animals, and survival in the African savanna is often brutal and unforgiving. However, what was observed among the Mpondo was an almost fraternal dynamic, where the younger lions took on the responsibility of caring for the older one, feeding him and keeping him under protection. This behavior generated great interest among biologists and local guides who monitored the coalition. The social structure of the Mpondo was different from any other ever recorded. Normally, when a coalition grows and takes over such vast territories as the Mpondo did, internal tensions arise that can lead to the group's fragmentation. Among lions, it is common that once a territory is established, a division of power occurs, often forcing one of the males to fight for dominance or leave the group in search of his own pride. However, within the Mpondo, this division never happened. Even with the aging of the oldest lion, who no longer actively participated in hunts and territorial patrols, the group remained united. The other members of the coalition continued to treat him as an equal, allowing him to participate in the group's social activities, albeit in a reduced role. This cohesion, this lack of internal competition, was one of the most striking factors that distinguished the Mpondo from other coalitions. In many lion coalitions, the presence of lionesses can increase tension among males, as control over the females and reproduction is often a source of dispute. However, in the Mpondo, there was an almost equal distribution of power and access to females, something rare in lion behavior. When a coalition conquers new territory and the females that inhabit it, it is common for the males to fight for the right to reproduce with those lionesses. But among the Mpondo, the 5 males seem to have reached a natural agreement in which all responsibilities, from territorial protection to mating, were shared in a balanced manner. This behavior made the Mpondo regarded as one of the most stable and socially complex coalitions in recent history. The solidarity demonstrated by its members not only ensured the survival of the oldest lion, but also strengthened the bonds within the group, allowing them to continue holding control over their vast territories and multiple prides. To many observers, this coalition represented an exception to the harsh rules of African wildlife, where the strongest and youngest usually dominate. Despite all their success, the Mpondo were not immune to the ongoing challenges posed by the wild. Kruger National Park, where the lions operated, was a constantly changing territory, where new young males, often coming from outside the reserve, were always trying to carve out space. These solitary males or new young coalitions represented a constant threat to the Mpondo's hegemony. The African savanna is an intensely competitive environment, where even top predators like lions must constantly fight to maintain their dominance. Between 2018 and 2020, the Mpondo faced several attempts to invade their territories. Each time, the coalition responded quickly, gathering their forces and attacking the intruders with a ferocity that demonstrated their experience and skill. The difference, however, was that, unlike many other coalitions, the Mpondo did so without losing any members. Even when ambushed or caught off guard, they emerged victorious from every battle. This resilience further fueled the legend surrounding the coalition, with local guides claiming they had never seen a group of lions so effective at maintaining their integrity over time. However, time is an unforgiving enemy, and gradually, the signs of wear began to appear. The oldest lion, who in his youth had led the group with authority, now left the fighting and patrolling to his younger brothers. Most of the recent confrontations were fought by the remaining 4 members of the coalition, who were still strong and capable of defending their territory. Although the oldest lion was still present, his active participation in the coalition's activities had significantly diminished. This phase brought a new kind of challenge for the coalition. The fact that the Mpondo had stayed together for so long without splitting their territories or losing members was already an anomaly among lion coalitions. Now, with their members aging, the inevitable question arose: how long would this unity last? The biology of lions imposes limits on the longevity of coalitions. As males age, their ability to fight and hunt diminishes, and survival often depends on the ability to recruit new members or pass on their territories and females to their descendants. The descendants of the Mpondo, spread across the prides they had conquered, represented the next generation of lions that could potentially take control of their fathers' territories. However, the natural cycle of wildlife rarely follows a continuous line. The male offspring of victorious coalitions, upon reaching maturity, often leave their parents' territory to find their own path, forming new coalitions or attempting to conquer the territories of other lions. This natural dispersal of young males raises another question. How would the Mpondo maintain their territories after the inevitable decline of their original members? The answer to this question lies, in part, in the unique behavior they had demonstrated throughout their existence. The absence of internal rivalry, the social cohesion, and the ability to work as an egalitarian group could, in theory, be passed on to their descendants. However, the challenge would be to ensure that this unity was maintained in the face of both external and internal pressures. In 2020, when the oldest Mpondo lion was visibly weakened, the coalition faced one of its greatest threats. A young coalition, composed of 3 males newly arrived in the Kruger region. These young lions, full of energy and ambition, decided to challenge the Mpondo for one of the coalition's most important territories. Knowing that the Mpondo had an elderly lion in their ranks, these new competitors believed they could exploit this weakness to defeat the legendary coalition. The battle that followed was one of the most brutal in the history of the Mpondo coalition. The remaining 4 lions, all showing signs of wear from years of fighting, were forced to gather all their strength to defend their territory. The oldest lion, though physically unable to participate in the fight, watched closely, as if supervising the last great battle of his life. The intensity of the fight was unmatched. The young males attacked with all their might, attempting to defeat the Mpondo and take their females and territories. However, the Mpondo's experience proved to be a decisive factor. Despite the advanced age of some of their members, the Mpondo used their superior knowledge of the territory and their combat skills honed over the years to inflict devastating defeats on the young invaders. By the end of the battle, 2 of the young males had been severely injured, and the 3rd had fled, unable to continue the fight. The Mpondo coalition had once again proven its superiority. However, this victory came at a cost. One of the Mpondo lions, who had already begun to show signs of aging, emerged from the battle with severe injuries. Although the Mpondo had triumphed, time was finally taking its toll on the legendary coalition. The local guides who had witnessed the fight realized that, while the Mpondo were still a force to be reckoned with, their era of invincibility was nearing its end. The oldest lion, who had once been the leader, now watched with tired eyes as his younger brothers bore the burden of defending the territory they had conquered together. With the end of this battle, it became clear that the Mpondo coalition had entered a new phase. They were still the kings of Northwest Kruger Park, but the scars from battles and the signs of aging made it evident that their dynasty was beginning to weaken. What would happen in the coming years would be a final test for this extraordinary coalition, which had defied the norms and redefined what was possible for a male lion alliance in the African savanna. The Mpondo coalition left a historical mark as one of the most successful lion alliances ever seen in Kruger National Park. Composed of lions from different prides, their union was exceptional, based on cooperation and equality, which secured them victories in countless battles and the conquest of vast territories. Unlike typical coalitions, the Mpondo stayed united for many years without internal rivalries, which is rare among big cats. Even as their members aged, especially the oldest lion, the Mpondo continued to demonstrate solidarity, caring for each other instead of abandoning the weaker members. This attitude allowed them to remain undefeated for many years. However, as time passed, the wear and tear began to show, and the natural cycle of wildlife indicated that the end of their era was approaching. Despite this, The Mpondo will be remembered not only for their victories and longevity, but also for the unique way they defied conventions, showing that cooperation can be just as powerful as brute strength. Their legacy of unity and resilience will continue to be a landmark in the history of African lions.